The last thing Tyrin said before his world fell apart was, "My wife will never leave me." He said it casually, the way someone might comment on the weather, completely unaware that those 5 words were about to become the biggest lie of his life. Because 3 floors above that confident declaration, Nancy wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't hoping for change anymore. She wasn't waiting for him to finally see her anymore. She was packing, methodically, carefully, quietly. 3 years of marriage fitting into 2 suitcases. A whole life reduced to what she could carry. And when the Korean Mafia boss finally came home that night, still smiling from his dinner party, still certain of his control over everything in his world, he was about to discover that the one person he took for granted had already walked away in her mind. Now her body was about to follow. Nancy's hands moved quietly across the silk blouse, folding it into thirds the way her mother taught her. The suitcase lay open on the bed, like a secret she had kept for 6 weeks. 3 years of marriage, and it all fit into 2 bags. Strange how a whole life could shrink like that. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from her friend Kioma in Lagos lit up the screen. "Did you tell him yet?" Nancy typed back with steady fingers. "No, and I won't." She dropped the phone into her purse and reached for the drawer where she kept her scarves. The apartment was silent, except for the soft sound of fabric against fabric. Tyrin was at another one of his business dinners downtown, the kind where men in expensive watches decided the fate of entire neighborhoods, the kind where wives were decoration, meant to smile and stay quiet. Her passport went into the inner pocket of her carry-on. Ticket confirmation, already printed. The job offer from the consulting firm in London, folded carefully in a blue envelope. Everything ready, everything planned. 6 hours until her flight. She zipped the smaller bag closed and sat on the edge of the bed, looking around the bedroom that never quite felt like hers. Too white, too cold, like living inside a refrigerator that someone had decorated with money. Her phone rang. Tyrin's name flashed across the screen. Nancy almost didn't answer, but old habits died hard. "Hello? I'll be home late," his voice came through, distant and distracted. "Don't wait up." "I won't," she said softly. "Good." A pause. "Did you eat?" "Yes." "Okay." Another pause, like he was searching for words he didn't actually want to find. "I have to go." The line went dead before she could respond. Nancy set the phone down and laughed, just once. A sad, small sound. This was them now. This had been them for longer than she wanted to admit. Across the city, in a private dining room that smelled of whiskey and grilled meat, Tyrin leaned back in his chair, completely unaware that his marriage was ending in 6 hours. His business associate, a man named Kim who ran half the construction contracts in Gangnam, was telling a story about his own wife threatening to leave him over a forgotten birthday. "Women," Kim said, shaking his head with a grin. "They collect complaints like stamps." The other men at the table laughed. "You ever worry about that, Tyrin?" Another man asked, pouring himself more wine. "That your wife might pack up and go back to Africa?" Tyrin smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes but looked convincing anyway. "My wife will never leave me." The table erupted in laughter and knowing nods. "Confident," Kim said, raising his glass. "I like that." What Tyrin didn't know was that Nancy had heard every word, not because she was there, but because he had pocket-dialed her. His phone, carelessly shoved into his jacket, had called her number by accident, and she had listened for 3 whole minutes before hanging up, her hands shaking so badly she had to sit down on the bathroom floor. "My wife will never leave me." Said like a fact, like gravity, like something that simply was and would always be. She had cried then, but only for 2 minutes, because she had already made her decision weeks ago, and tears wouldn't change anything. When she stood up from the bathroom floor, her face was dry and her mind was clear. Now, back in the present moment, with her bags packed and her future waiting, Nancy walked to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water. The city lights blinked outside the window, Seoul at night looking like scattered stars. She used to find it beautiful. Now it just looked far from home. Her phone buzzed again. Chioma, persistent as always. "I'm proud of you. You know that, right?" Nancy smiled and typed back. "I know, thank you. When you land in London, call me immediately." "I will." And Nancy? Yes? You're doing the right thing. Nancy locked her phone and whispered to the empty apartment. I hope so. The clock on the wall read 9:45. Taerin probably wouldn't be home until midnight. Maybe later. She would leave him a note, short and clear, nothing dramatic, just the truth. She pulled out a piece of paper and a pen. But before she could write the first word, she heard it. The sound of a key in the lock. Her heart stopped. Taerin was home early. Listen, I know you probably found this story because you love drama just as much as I do. And trust me, this one is about to get intense. If you're already hooked, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because you won't want to miss what happens when he finds those bags. Things are about to go completely sideways. Now let's get back to it. Nancy moved fast. She grabbed the suitcase from the bed and shoved it into the closet, her hands clumsy with panic. The second bag, the carry-on, she kicked under the bed just as the front door opened. Nancy? His voice echoed through the apartment. She stepped out of the bedroom, closing the door behind her with one hand, while her heart tried to break through her ribs. You're home early. Taerin stood in the hallway, loosening his tie. He looked tired. He always looked tired these days, like carrying the weight of his reputation was finally starting to show. Kim got drunk and started crying about his daughter's wedding. I left. Oh? He walked past her toward the kitchen, shrugging off his jacket. Why are you still awake? Couldn't sleep, she said, which wasn't a lie. He opened the fridge and stared into it, like answers might be hiding behind the milk. There's nothing to eat. I can make you something. Don't bother. He closed the fridge and turned to look at her properly for the first time since coming home. His eyes narrowed slightly. You look strange. Nancy's pulse jumped. Strange how? I don't know. Different. He tilted his head, studying her face, the way someone might study a painting they had walked past 1,000 times, but never really looked at. Did you cut your hair? She almost laughed. She had cut her hair 5 weeks ago. No. He turned away, already losing interest. I'm going to take a shower. He walked toward their bedroom. Nancy's blood turned to ice. The closet. The suitcase. She had closed it but not locked it. And Taerin always hung his jacket in that closet. Wait, she called out. Too loud, too urgent. He stopped and turned back, one eyebrow raised. What? Her mind raced. I need to talk to you about something. Now? Yes. He sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was already exhausted by the idea of a conversation. Can it wait until tomorrow? I'm tired. No, Nancy said firmly. It can't. Something in her tone made him pause. He looked at her again, really looked. And for a moment she saw a flicker of the man she had married. The one who used to listen. The one who used to care. All right, he said slowly. What is it? Nancy opened her mouth, but before she could speak, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his expression changed. Went hard. I have to take this. Taerin, please. It's important, Nancy. He answered the call and walked toward his office, already speaking in rapid Korean to whoever was on the other end. The door closed. Nancy stood alone in the hallway, her chance gone. She walked back to the bedroom and pulled the suitcase out from the closet, hands trembling now with anger instead of fear. She was done hiding, done waiting for the right moment, done making herself smaller so he could feel bigger. She dragged both bags into the living room and set them by the front door. Then she sat on the couch and waited. 20 minutes later, Taerin emerged from his office, still talking on the phone. He was saying something about a shipment and a delayed payment, his voice cold and businesslike. He walked right past her toward the kitchen, didn't even glance her way. But then he stopped, turned around slowly, stared at the 2 bags sitting by the door. His phone call forgotten, he lowered the device from his ear. I'll call you back, he said to whoever was on the line, and ended the call without waiting for a response. The silence that followed was so heavy, Nancy could feel it pressing against her skin. What are those? Taerin asked quietly. My bags. I can see that. His voice was still calm, but there was something underneath it now, something sharp. Why are they by the door? Nancy stood up from the couch, her legs steadier than she expected. Because I'm leaving. He stared at her. Just stared. Like she had suddenly started speaking a language he didn't understand. You're what? Leaving. Tonight, my flight is at 6 in the morning. The words hung in the air between them. Tai Rin's expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened. Is this a joke? No. Then you've lost your mind. Maybe, Nancy said, surprised by how calm she sounded. Or maybe I finally found it. He took a step toward her, his eyes searching her face for something. A crack in the armor. A sign that she wasn't serious. You're upset about something. What did I do? Did my mother call you again? This isn't about your mother. Then what is it about? Nancy laughed, and it came out bitter. You really don't know? No, Nancy, I really don't. So why don't you enlighten me instead of playing games? The word games hit her like a slap. 3 years of swallowing her feelings, 3 years of being patient and understanding and invisible, and he thought this was a game. I heard what you said tonight, she told him. At your dinner. His face went blank. What are you talking about? You pocket-dialed me. I heard you tell your friends that I would never leave you. You said it like it was impossible, like I was some kind of possession that didn't have a choice. Tai Rin ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. That's what this is about? A comment I made at dinner? It's not about the comment. It's about what the comment means. Which is? That you think I'll stay no matter how you treat me. That you've gotten so comfortable taking me for granted that the idea of me leaving doesn't even cross your mind. He was quiet for a moment, his expression hard to read. Then he said, You're being dramatic. And just like that, Nancy felt the last thread of doubt snap. There it is, she said softly. You can't even take me seriously now. Nancy, it's almost midnight. You're clearly emotional. Let's talk about this in the morning when you've calmed down. I am calm. You're trying to leave your husband in the middle of the night. That's not calm. That's insane. Nancy walked to the bags and picked up the carry-on. I have a car coming at 4:30. I was going to leave while you were asleep, but since you're here, I might as well say goodbye now. Tai Rin moved fast, crossing the room in 3 long strides and putting himself between her and the door. You're not going anywhere. Move. No. They stood facing each other, and for the first time in 3 years, Nancy didn't look away first. Move, Tai Rin. Not until you tell me what's really going on. This can't just be about a stupid comment I made. There's something else. She could tell him. She could list every moment of pain, every dismissal, every time his family had made her feel like an outsider, and he had said nothing. Every business dinner, where he had introduced her as an afterthought. Every night, he had come home too tired to ask about her day. Every time she had reached for him and found nothing but air. But what was the point? You wouldn't understand, she said instead. Try me. Nancy set the bag down, not because she was giving up, but because she was tired of holding it. When was the last time you defended me? The question seemed to catch him off guard. What? Your mother told me last month that I should be grateful you married me despite my background. She said it right in front of your cousins. You were standing 3 feet away. You said nothing. Tai Rin's jaw worked. My mother is old-fashioned. She doesn't mean anything by it. That's not a defense. That's an excuse. What did you want me to do, Nancy? Yell at my mother? I wanted you to stand with me instead of letting me stand alone. He looked away. Couldn't quite meet her eyes anymore. You're too sensitive about these things. And you're not sensitive enough. So that's it? His voice rose now, anger bleeding through. You're going to throw away 3 years of marriage because I didn't argue with my mother? I'm leaving, because you don't see me anymore. I don't know if you ever really did. Tai Rin grabbed her hand, his grip firm but not painful. Nancy, listen to me. Whatever I did or didn't do, we can fix it. But you don't run away. That's not how marriage works. She looked down at his hand holding hers, and for just a second, she remembered why she had fallen for him. The warmth, the certainty, the way he had made her feel safe in a country where everything was new and strange. But that man was gone now, or maybe he had never existed outside of her imagination. Let go. she said quietly. No. Tay-Frin. I said no. His eyes blazed now, and she could see the shift happening, the businessman turning into something harder, something that was used to getting its way. You want to be upset? Fine. Be upset. Yell at me. Throw something. Whatever you need to do. But you're not walking out that door. Nancy pulled her hand free, and the surprise on his face told her he hadn't expected her to be strong enough to break his grip. You don't get to decide that, she said. I'm your husband, and I'm a person, not a trophy, not a possession, a person, and I'm done pretending that's enough for you. Before he could respond, before he could block her again, Nancy grabbed both bags and walked around him toward the bedroom. Where are you going? He demanded. To lock myself in until my car comes. Don't follow me. She made it to the bedroom and closed the door, turning the lock just as he reached it. Nancy, open this door. No. I'm not playing games with you. Good, because neither am I. She could hear him breathing on the other side, could picture him standing there trying to figure out his next move. This wasn't how things went for Seo Tae-Rin. He gave orders and people followed them. He decided things and they happened. But not this time. Nancy sat on the edge of the bed and checked her phone. 3 hours and 45 minutes until the car arrived. She just had to wait him out. On the other side of the door, Tae-Rin pressed his forehead against the wood and closed his eyes. His wife was leaving him. The thought felt impossible, like someone telling him gravity had stopped working. He pulled out his phone and almost called his assistant, then realized how insane that would sound. What was he going to say? My wife is trying to leave me. Send help? Instead, he walked back to the living room and stood looking at the empty space where her bags had been. She couldn't be serious. This had to be some kind of emotional outburst, something that would blow over by morning. Nancy was gentle, quiet, easy to be with. She didn't make waves. She certainly didn't make ultimatums. Except she just had. Tae-Rin poured himself a drink and sat down on the couch, trying to think. What had changed? Everything had been fine yesterday, and the day before that. They had a good life, a nice home. He provided for her, protected her, gave her everything she needed. Didn't he? His phone buzzed. A message from Kim. Get home safe, brother. Give my regards to your lovely wife. Tae-Rin stared at the message, and something twisted in his chest. Your lovely wife. When was the last time he had called Nancy lovely? When was the last time he had called her anything at all? He tried to remember their last real conversation, not the surface-level exchanges about dinner and schedules, but an actual conversation where they talked about things that mattered. He couldn't. The realization sat heavy in his stomach. He stood up and walked back to the bedroom door. Nancy? Silence. I know you're angry, but this is extreme, don't you think? Just come out and we'll talk properly. Still nothing. I'm not going to stand here and beg, he said, his pride kicking in even though he knew it was exactly the wrong thing to say. From inside the room, Nancy's voice came through clear and calm. I didn't ask you to. Tae-Rin felt something crack inside him, something he didn't have a name for. He walked to his office and sat at his desk, the same desk where he had made decisions that moved millions of one and changed people's lives. But sitting there now, he realized he had no idea how to handle this. His wife wanted to leave him, and he didn't know how to make her stay. He pulled open the bottom drawer of his desk, looking for nothing in particular, just something to do with his hands, and that's when he saw it. An envelope he didn't recognize, tucked under some old contracts. He pulled it out and opened it. Inside were letters, 3 of them, handwritten in Nancy's careful script. His hands started to shake before he even began reading. The first letter was dated 6 months ago. Dear Tae-Rin, I don't know why I'm writing this, since I'll never send it. Maybe I just need to say these things out loud, even if it's only on paper. Today was our anniversary, and you forgot. I waited at the restaurant for 2 hours before the waiter finally admitted you had called to cancel. You didn't cancel with me, just with the restaurant. I came home, and you were having drinks with your business partners in the living room. You looked surprised to see me dressed up. I told you it was our anniversary, and you said we would celebrate tomorrow. We didn't. I don't think you remembered again after that night. I'm writing this because I need to remember that this hurt. I need to remember that I'm allowed to be hurt by it. Love, Nancy. Tae-rin read the letter twice, then a third time, each word landing like a punch he hadn't seen coming. He remembered that night. He remembered the drinks with the Chinese investors, the deal they had closed. He remembered coming home pleased with himself. He didn't remember his wife sitting alone at a restaurant waiting for him. His hands moved to the second letter. Dear Tae-rin, your mother came to visit today. She brought her sister and 2 of her friends from church. They sat in our living room drinking the tea I made and talked about me like I wasn't there. Your aunt asked when we were going to have children. Your mother said maybe it's a blessing we don't yet, because mixed children have such a hard time in Korean society. Her friends agreed. They said it so casually, like they were discussing the weather. I sat there smiling, because that's what I always do. I smile and I serve tea, and I pretend their words don't cut me. After they left, I cried in the bathroom for an hour. You came home and asked why my eyes were red. I said allergies. You believed me, because it was easier than the truth. I'm starting to realize you always choose easier. Love, Nancy. The third letter was shorter, dated just 3 weeks ago. Dear Tae-rin, I got a job offer today. International consulting firm, based in London. Good salary, better title, a chance to use my degree again. I almost told you at dinner, but then I remembered. You didn't ask about my day. You haven't asked about my day in 8 months. I counted. So I didn't tell you. I accepted the offer instead. My flight is booked. I know I should feel guilty, but mostly I just feel tired. Tired of being invisible in my own marriage. Tired of loving someone who only sees me when it's convenient. I'm leaving soon, and you won't know until I'm gone. Maybe that makes me a coward, or maybe it just makes me smart. I haven't decided yet. This is the last letter I'll write to you. Goodbye, Tae-rin. Love, Nancy. He sat there holding the papers, and for the first time in years, Co Tae-rin didn't know what to do. His wife had been drowning right in front of him, and he hadn't noticed. Worse, he hadn't looked. The clock on his desk read 11:20. He had less than 6 hours to fix 3 years of damage. He stood up, the letters still in his hand, and walked back to the bedroom door. Nancy, I found your letters. A pause. Then, I know. I left them there. That stopped him. You wanted me to find them? I needed you to understand. I knew I couldn't make you understand with words. You never listened to my words. The truth of that hit him square in the chest. Nancy, please open the door. No. I read all 3. I remember those days. I remember what I did or what I didn't do. And you're right. You're right about everything. Silence. I'm sorry, he said, and was surprised to find he meant it. I'm sorry I forgot our anniversary. I'm sorry I didn't defend you to my mother. I'm sorry I stopped asking about your day. I'm sorry I made you feel invisible. More silence, and then he heard movement. The lock turned. Nancy opened the door but didn't step out. She stood in the doorway looking at him, with eyes that were dry but exhausted. You're sorry because I'm leaving. If I wasn't leaving, you'd still be at that dinner, telling your friends I never would. That's not fair. Isn't it? She leaned against the doorframe. Tell me, Tae-rin, if I hadn't packed those bags, if you hadn't found those letters, would you have apologized tomorrow, or next week, or ever? He wanted to say yes, but the lie wouldn't come. That's what I thought, Nancy said softly. So what? I'm not allowed to fix my mistakes? I'm not allowed to try? You're 3 years too late. Nancy, please. He took a step closer, and she didn't back away, which felt like progress. I know I've been a terrible husband. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Why should I give it to you? Because I love you. She laughed, and it was the saddest sound he'd ever heard. You love me? You don't even know me anymore. When's my birthday, Tae-rin? The question caught him off guard. What? My birthday. When is it? His mind went blank. He knew this. He absolutely knew this. December something. Or was it November? See? Nancy said, and there was no triumph in her voice, just resignation. You don't even know when I was born. That's not fair. I'm bad with dates. You remembered your business partner's daughter's wedding. You sent a gift worth 3 million won. He had no response to that. Nancy stepped back into the bedroom. I'm closing this door again. Please don't try to break it down. You'll wake the neighbors, and that won't help either of us. Nancy, wait. I'm tired, Taerin. I've been tired for a very long time. Let me rest. The door closed again, softer this time, and the lock clicked back into place. Taerin stood there staring at the white wood, his reflection caught in the full-length mirror across the hall. He looked like a stranger to himself. His phone rang. He almost ignored it, but the name on the screen made him answer. What is it? He snapped. His second in command, a man named Park, spoke quickly. We have a problem. Someone leaked information about a situation at your home. It's going to be in the morning news. Taerin's blood went cold. What situation? About your wife, about her leaving. How the hell does anyone know about that? It just happened. I don't know, boss, but someone knows. The media is already writing the story. By morning, every tabloid in Seoul will be running it. Taerin closed his eyes. Of course, one of the staff probably. Or maybe someone had seen Nancy booking the flight. In his world, secrets never stayed secret for long. Kill the story, he ordered. I'm trying, but it's already gone to 3 different outlets. Unless you want me to do something more aggressive. No, the last thing he needed was more attention. Just try to contain it. I'll handle things here. He ended the call and pressed his forehead against the bedroom door. Nancy? What now? We have another problem. The media knows you're leaving. It's going to be news by tomorrow morning. He heard her move closer to the door. How? I don't know, but my people are trying to stop it. A bitter laugh came from the other side. Of course they are. Can't have people knowing that the great Seo Taerin's wife wants to leave him. What would that do to your reputation? That's not why I'm trying to stop it. Isn't it? I'm trying to protect you, Nancy. You know what the media is like here. They'll tear you apart. They've been tearing me apart for 3 years, she said quietly. At least now they'll do it honestly, instead of behind fake smiles. Taerin heard something in her voice, something broken that he had caused, and he felt sick. I never wanted this for you, he said. Then what did you want? I wanted you safe. I wanted you protected from all the ugly parts of my life. So you just gave me different ugly parts instead. Loneliness, isolation, invisibility. I was trying to keep you separate from my work, from the danger. And you kept me separate from everything else too, including yourself. He had no answer to that, because she was right. Inside the bedroom, Nancy sat on the floor with her back against the door, listening to him breathe on the other side. Part of her wanted to open it again, wanted to believe that maybe he could change, that maybe this could still work. But the bigger part of her, the part that had been dying slowly for 3 years, knew better. She checked her phone. 3 hours and 15 minutes until the car came. A message from Chioma appeared. I saw the news. Nancy, what's happening? Nancy's stomach dropped. What news? Check online. It's everywhere. With shaking hands, Nancy opened her browser and searched her own name. The headlines hit her like a slap. Mafia boss Seo's foreign wife abandons him. Nancy Adebayo flees Korea after failed marriage. Sources say she could never adapt to Korean life. They had twisted everything, made it sound like she was the failure, like she was the one who couldn't handle being married to someone important. Her phone started ringing. Unknown numbers, one after another. Reporters. She turned it off completely. Nancy? Taerin's voice came through the door. Did you see? Yes. I'm going to fix this. You can't fix this, Taerin. This is what your world does. It eats people like me and spits us out. You're not people like you. You're my wife. Exactly. I'm your wife. Not Nancy, the person with her own dreams and career. Not Nancy who speaks 3 languages and has a master's degree. Just your wife, the foreign one who never quite fit in. She heard him slam his hand against the doorframe in frustration. That's not how I see you. Then how do you see me? Describe me, Taerin. Not as your wife, as a person. Tell me who I am. The silence that followed was answer enough. Nancy pulled her knees to her chest and let out a long breath. She had hoped, somewhere deep down, that maybe he would prove her wrong, that maybe he did see her, did know her, did understand who she was beyond the title of wife. But he didn't. "You can't do it, can you?" she said. "Nancy, that's not fair. You're putting me on the spot. I'm asking you to know me. That shouldn't require preparation." On the other side of the door, Tayreen felt panic rising in his chest like water. She was slipping away, and he didn't know how to hold on. "You like reading," he said desperately. "You read before bed every night." "What do I read?" "Books." "What kind of books, Tayreen?" He tried to picture her reading, but couldn't remember ever paying attention to the covers. "I don't know. I read history, African history specifically. I'm trying to stay connected to the home you took me away from. I've been reading the same types of books for 3 years, and you never once asked what they were about." The guilt was crushing now. "You drink tea in the mornings," he tried again. "What kind?" "I don't know. Rooibos. It's from South Africa. I have it shipped here because I can't find it in Korean stores. The box sits on the counter every single morning." "Nancy, please stop." "Why? Because it hurts? Good. Now you know how I've felt. Hey, I need to pause this story for just a second, because I can feel some of you really understanding Nancy's pain right now. If you're invested in seeing whether she gets on that plane or not, drop a comment and let me know if you think she should stay or go. And listen, this story is about to take an even bigger turn, so make sure you stick around, because the next part is going to change everything. Tayreen slid down to sit with his back against the door, mirroring Nancy's position on the other side without knowing it. Only a few inches, and a piece of wood separated them, but it might as well have been an ocean. "Tell me how to fix this," he said quietly. "I don't think you can. There has to be a way. Some things stay broken, Tayreen." His phone buzzed with a call from his mother. He rejected it. It rang again immediately. His father this time. He rejected that one too.
"Your family is calling you," Nancy said, apparently hearing the buzzing through the door. "I don't care."
"You should answer. They're probably upset about the news."
"Let them be upset."
"Tayreen, answer your phone."
No. He meant it.
For the first time in his life, he was choosing his wife over his family's expectations. Too little, too late maybe, but he was choosing. Nancy heard his phone ring 3 more times, heard him reject each call, and felt something shift in her chest. It was a small thing, meaningless in the grand scheme of everything wrong between them, but it was something. "What are they going to say?" she asked. "That I should let you go, that you're damaging the family reputation, that I should have married someone more suitable from the beginning. And what are you going to tell them?" "Nothing. I'm not answering." Nancy closed her eyes and tried not to let that matter. It was one moment of choosing her over them, one moment out of 1,000 where he had done the opposite. "Your mother called me unsuitable once," Nancy said, to my face. "She said I was an unsuitable match for her son. You told me later that I had misunderstood her Korean." "I remember. I didn't misunderstand. My Korean is perfect. You just didn't want to deal with the conflict." "I know. Do you? Do you really know what it's like to sit in a room full of people who think you don't belong, and have the one person who's supposed to defend you just sit there silently?" "Nancy, I was trying to keep the peace. You kept the peace and sacrificed me. Every single time." Tayreen dropped his head into his hands. She was right. About everything. He had taken the easy path again and again, and each time he had told himself he was protecting her from worse. But really, he had just been protecting himself from discomfort. "I was a coward," he admitted. "Yes, you were. I'm sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't give me back 3 years of my life. Sorry doesn't make me feel less alone in a marriage that should have made me feel found." His phone rang again. Park this time. He answered, because ignoring his second-in-command during a crisis was stupid, even if he didn't care about anything except the woman on the other side of the door. "What? The story is everywhere now. I couldn't stop it. And there's something else." "What?" "Reporters are outside your building, at least 20 of them." Tayreen's jaw clenched. "Call security. Have them cleared out." "I did. They're on public property. We can't legally remove them." Then call someone who can make it happen illegally. Boss, that will only make it worse. Right now, it's a human interest story. You start threatening reporters and it becomes a scandal. Tae-rin wanted to break something. Fine. Let them stand there. What do you want me to tell people? Your phone is ringing off the hook. Business partners, family, friends, everyone wants to know what's happening. Tell them nothing. Tell them I'm handling it. Are you? Tae-rin looked at the closed door. I'm trying to. He ended the call and heard Nancy moving around inside the bedroom. Nancy, what are you doing? Checking if there's another way out of this apartment. His heart jumped. Why? Because I can't leave through the front if there are reporters outside. They'll eat me alive. So you're still planning to leave? Yes. Even after everything we just talked about? Especially after everything we just talked about. Her voice was clear and certain. Tae-rin, this conversation just proved everything I already knew. You don't know me. You haven't been seeing me. And one night of apologies doesn't undo 3 years of neglect. So that's it? I don't get a chance to make it right? You had 1,000 chances. You just never took them. Tae-rin stood up and tried the door handle, even though he knew it was locked. Nancy, please. Just give me one more chance. One real chance. To do what? Tell me you love me? Promise to change? Make grand gestures that will fade in a week when your business pulls you away again? To prove I can be the husband you needed, to show you that I see you now. You only see me because I'm leaving. The moment I stay, I'll disappear again. That's how this works. That's not true. Isn't it, Tae-rin? Be honest with yourself if you can't be honest with me. If I unpacked those bags right now and said everything was fine, how long before you stopped trying? A week? A month? He wanted to argue but couldn't find the words, because somewhere deep down, he was terrified she was right. I want to believe I'd be different, he said quietly. Wanting to believe isn't the same as knowing. Then let me prove it. I'm too tired to watch you try and fail. Nancy opened the bedroom door then, stepping out with her carry-on bag in hand. She had changed into traveling clothes, comfortable pants, and a loose sweater. Her hair was pulled back, and her face was bare of makeup. She looked young and tired and determined. Tae-rin felt his heart crack looking at her. There's a service elevator in the back of the building, she said. I called the building manager. He's going to let me out through the garage. When? In an hour. Nancy, please don't do this. She walked past him into the living room, and he followed like a lost dog. Is there anything I can say that will change your mind? He asked. Nancy set her bag down and turned to face him. Tell me why you married me. The question surprised him. What? Why did you marry me, Tae-rin? Why me specifically? Because I loved you. Why did you love me? He opened his mouth and then closed it, really thinking about it for the first time. You were different. You didn't care about my money or my reputation. You saw me. Just me. And you weren't afraid. And when did you stop seeing me the same way? The question landed like a knife. I don't know, he admitted. I do. It was about 6 months after we got married. You closed a big deal, took over territory in Busan, became someone even more important, and suddenly you had this image to maintain, this reputation to protect, and I didn't fit into it cleanly. I was too different, too foreign, too complicated to explain. So you started tucking me away. Little by little you made me smaller and smaller, until I fit into the box labeled wife, and nothing else. I never meant to do that. But you did, and now I'm taking myself back. She picked up her bag again and walked toward the kitchen, probably looking for something to drink. Tae-rin followed, desperate and out of options. What if I gave it all up? He said suddenly. Nancy turned, confused. What? The business, the reputation, the territory, all of it. What if I walked away from everything, and we started over somewhere else? She stared at him. You don't mean that. I do. We could go anywhere. London, since you have the job there. Or Lagos, back to your home. We could start completely fresh. Tae-rin, you are your business. You've spent your entire adult life building it. And I spent the last 3 years destroying my marriage. Which one actually matters? Nancy felt tears threatening for the first time that night, but she blinked them back. You're panicking. You're saying things you don't mean because I'm actually leaving, and you don't know how to process that. I'm saying things I should have said years ago. If I stayed, if I gave you another chance, you would resent me within a year for making you give up your empire, and I would resent you for making me responsible for that choice. We would destroy each other. We're already destroying each other. At least if we try, there's a chance we make it. Nancy set down her water and looked at him, really looked at him, trying to see if there was anything left worth fighting for. He looked desperate and lost, and completely unlike the confident man who had walked past her 6 hours ago without a second glance. You want to know the worst part? She said softly. Part of me wants to believe you. Part of me wants to stay and see if maybe this time it could be different. But I've wanted that so many times before, and every time I was disappointed. I can't survive another disappointment, Taerin. It would break me completely. Then let me be the one who's at risk. Let me be the one who tries and possibly fails. You just have to give me the chance. Before Nancy could respond, there was a loud knock on the front door. They both froze. Police, open up, a voice called from outside. Taerin's expression darkened. What the hell? He went to the door and opened it to find 2 officers standing in the hallway, with cameras flashing behind them. The reporters had apparently followed the police up. "Co Taerin?" one officer asked. "What's this about?" "We received a call about a domestic disturbance. We need to come in and make sure everyone is safe." Taerin's jaw clenched. "There's no disturbance. Someone gave you false information." "We still need to verify that, sir." Nancy appeared behind Taerin. "I'm fine, officers. There's been no disturbance. My husband and I are just talking." The officer looked between them, clearly trying to assess the situation. "Ma'am, are you here of your own free will?" "Yes." "Has anyone hurt you or threatened you?" "No." "Are you safe?" Nancy almost laughed at that. "Safe physically? Yes. Safe emotionally? Not even a little bit. But that wasn't what he was asking." "I'm safe," she confirmed. The officer nodded slowly. "We heard reports that you were being held against your will." "Who reported that?" Taerin demanded. "Anonymous tip. But if ma'am says she's fine, then we'll leave you to it. But ma'am, if you need help, we can provide resources." "I appreciate that, but I'm okay." The officers left, but not before the reporters got several photos of Nancy and Taerin standing in the doorway, looking like a couple in crisis. Taerin slammed the door. "This is insane." "This is your life," Nancy said. "This is what you wanted me to be part of. Cameras and reporters and people calling the police because they think they know what's happening in our marriage. I never wanted this for you. But you also never protected me from it. You can't have it both ways. Taerin, you can't be a public figure with a private wife. It doesn't work like that." She walked back to get her bag, and Taerin felt time slipping through his fingers. "Nancy, wait. Please just wait." "For what? For more police to show up? For more reporters to twist our lives into entertainment? I'm done waiting, Taerin. I've been waiting for 3 years for you to see me, to choose me, to fight for me. I'm not waiting anymore." The building manager called her phone. "Mrs. Sovo, the garage is clear. You can come down whenever you're ready." Nancy looked at Taerin, and for a moment, everything hung in the balance. "Don't go," he said, and his voice broke on the words. "Please don't go." Nancy stood there with her bag in hand, looking at the man she had married 3 years ago. He looked different now. Smaller somehow, like all the power and confidence had drained out of him and left behind just a person. Just a scared person who didn't want to lose his wife. "I have to go," she said quietly. "I know you think you do. But Nancy, if you walk out that door right now, if you get on that plane, we're done. There's no coming back from that." "I know. And that's what you want? You want our marriage to end?" Nancy felt the tears finally break through. "I want our marriage to be real. I want to matter. I want to be seen and heard and valued. And if the only way to get that is to leave, then yes, that's what I want." "You matter to me." "Since when?" "Since tonight, when you realized I was serious. That's not enough, Taerin. That's not love. That's panic." He took a step toward her, his hands shaking. Then tell me what love looks like. Tell me what I should have done, and I'll do it now. I'll do anything. You should have defended me to your mother. You should have remembered our anniversary. You should have asked about my day, about my dreams, about the things that hurt me. You should have introduced me as Nancy, the woman you love, not just as your wife. You should have seen me crying and known it wasn't allergies. You should have noticed when I stopped smiling for real and started smiling out of habit. Each word hit him like a stone. You should have loved me like I was a person, and not just a role you needed filled, Nancy finished, her voice breaking. Tae-rin felt something inside him shatter. She was right. About everything. And he had been so blind, so comfortable, so sure of her, that he had forgotten she was a choice she made every day, not a guarantee he had earned once and could keep forever. I did love you like that, he said desperately. In the beginning, I did. I know, I was there. But beginning isn't enough to sustain 3 years. So teach me how to do it again. Show me how to be better. That's not my job. Tae-rin, I can't teach you to value me. You either do, or you don't. She moved toward the door, and he moved with her, not blocking her, but not letting her go alone either. What if I come with you? He said suddenly. Nancy stopped. What? To London. What if I come with you? Not to convince you to stay married, just to prove I can put you first. You take the job, build your career, live your life. I'll be there supporting you instead of the other way around. You can't just leave Seoul. Your business, your family, everything is here. I can do anything I want. I just never wanted to before. Nancy searched his face for signs of manipulation, for the calculating businessman who always had an angle. But all she saw was a man who looked terrified and sincere. You're serious, she said, surprised. Completely. You want me to prove I can change? Fine. I'll change everything. We go to London, you take your job. I figure out who I am when I'm not Seo Tae-rin, the powerful businessman. Maybe I'm someone better. Maybe I'm someone who deserves you. And if you hate it, if you resent me for taking you away from everything you know, then at least I tried. At least I didn't just let you walk away without fighting. Nancy felt her resolve wavering, and she hated it. She had been so sure, so clear about what she needed to do. But now he was offering something she had never expected, something that looked like actual sacrifice instead of empty promises. I don't know, she whispered. You don't have to know right now. Just don't get on the plane. Stay one more day. Let me show you I mean it. One more day turns into one more week, then one more month, and suddenly, I've lost the job, and nothing has changed. Then I'll put it in writing, a contract. If I don't follow through on everything I'm promising, you get a divorce, and half of everything I own. Nancy almost smiled despite everything. You want to contract our marriage? I want you to believe I'm serious. If a contract does that, I'll sign one right now. She looked down at her bag, then at the door, then back at him. Every logical part of her brain said to leave, to protect herself, to not fall for pretty words spoken in desperation. But there was a smaller voice, the one that remembered falling in love with him, that wondered if maybe people really could change when they finally understood what they were about to lose. One day, she said finally. You have one day to prove this isn't just panic talking. Relief flooded Tae-rin's face. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm not unpacking. I'm not canceling my flight. I'm just delaying it. You have 24 hours, and then I'm making my final decision. I'll take it. Nancy set her bag down, but kept it near the door. I need sleep. Real sleep. I'm exhausted. Take the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch. No. You take the bedroom. I don't want to be locked in anywhere. I'll take the guest room. Tae-rin nodded, accepting her terms. Whatever you need. She picked up her bag and walked toward the guest room, then stopped and turned back. Tae-rin? Yes. If you waste this chance, if you fall back into old habits even once in the next 24 hours, I'm gone, and I won't give you another opportunity. This is it. I understand. She closed the guest room door, and Tae-rin stood alone in the living room, aware that he had just been given the most important test of his life. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Park, I need you to clear my schedule for the next month. Boss, you have meetings scheduled with the Chinese investors tomorrow. and the shipment from Busan needs your approval. Delegate it. All of it. I'm taking time off. There was a shocked silence on the other end. You've never taken time off. I'm starting now. Handle everything, and don't call me unless someone is literally dying. What's going on? I'm trying to save my marriage. He ended the call before Park could respond, and dialed his mother's number. She answered on the first ring. Tae-rin, what is this scandal I'm hearing about? Mother, I need you to listen very carefully. You have disrespected my wife for the last time. If you want any relationship with me going forward, you will apologize to Nancy and treat her with the respect she deserves. How dare you speak to me like that? How dare you speak to my wife like she's beneath us? She has a master's degree, speaks multiple languages, and left everything she knew to be with me. She's more accomplished than half our family combined, and you've treated her like she should be grateful we let her exist in our space. Tae-rin, you're being irrational. No, I'm being clear. Apologize to Nancy, or don't contact me again. Your choice. He hung up on his mother for the first time in his life. His hands were shaking, but he felt clearer than he had in years. Next, he called his assistant. I need you to do something for me. Of course, sir. Find out Nancy's exact birthday, her favorite books for the last 6 months, and the name of that tea she drinks every morning. I need the information in an hour. Sir, it's 2 in the morning. I'm aware. Can you do it or not? I'll have it to you in 30 minutes. Tae-rin spent the rest of the night researching international consulting firms in London, looking at apartments in neighborhoods Nancy might like, learning everything he could about what her life might look like if she took that job. And if he went with her, the idea should have terrified him. Leaving Seoul, leaving his business, leaving everything he had built. But instead, he felt something like relief. Maybe he was tired too. Tired of being Seo Tae-rin, the untouchable. Tired of the weight of reputation and power. Tired of living a life that looked successful from the outside, but felt hollow inside. At 6 in the morning, Nancy emerged from the guest room, looking like she hadn't slept at all. Tae-rin was in the kitchen making breakfast, not ordering it, not having the housekeeper prepare it, actually cooking. Nancy stopped in the doorway. What are you doing? Making you breakfast. I called your friend Chioma last night and asked her what you liked. She said you always crave your mother's recipe for scrambled eggs when you're stressed. So I found a recipe online, and I'm attempting it. It might be terrible. Nancy's eyes widened. You called Chioma? I needed to know how to help. I figured your best friend would know better than me, which is sad, but I'm trying to fix that. He plated the eggs and set them in front of her. They looked decent, maybe a little overcooked, but the effort was undeniable. Nancy took a bite. They weren't like her mother's, not even close, but they were warm and made with intention. They're good, she said softly. You're lying, but I appreciate it. He sat across from her with his own plate. Your birthday is November 18th. You've been reading a book about the history of the Yoruba people. Your favorite tea is rooibos, and you take it with honey, no milk. You wanted to be a teacher before you switched to consulting because you thought it would give you more freedom to travel. Nancy set down her fork. How do you know all that? I asked people. I looked things up. I paid attention for the first time in too long. He leaned forward. I know it's just facts, just information, but it's a start. I want to know everything, Nancy. I want to know what makes you laugh, and what keeps you up at night, and what you dream about when you let yourself dream big. She felt her walls cracking, just a little. This is one morning, Tae-rin. One breakfast. I know, but I have all day. Let me use it. Before Nancy could respond, there was another knock on the door. Tae-rin got up to answer it and found a reporter shoving a microphone toward him. Mr. Seo, is it true your wife is leaving you? How do you respond to reports that your marriage has been troubled from the start? More reporters appeared behind the first one, all shouting questions. Tae-rin could have closed the door, could have called security, could have retreated back into privacy, and dealt with it through lawyers and press releases. Instead, he stepped fully into the hallway. You want a statement? He said. his voice carrying authority. Fine. Here's your statement. My marriage has been troubled, but not because of my wife, because of me. I've been a terrible husband. I took her for granted. I didn't defend her when my family disrespected her, and I stopped seeing her as a person and started treating her like an accessory. The reporters went silent, shocked. Nancy is the best thing that ever happened to me, and I nearly destroyed that through neglect and pride. If she leaves me, it's because I failed her, not because she wasn't strong enough, or good enough, or Korean enough. It's because I wasn't husband enough. Mr. Seo, are you saying your wife is leaving because you weren't a good husband? I'm saying my wife is considering leaving because I was barely a husband at all, and if she stays, it will be because I've convinced her I can be better. That's it. That's your story. Now leave us alone. He went back inside and closed the door, his heart pounding. Nancy stood in the living room, having heard everything. You just told the entire country you were a bad husband, she said. I told them the truth. Your reputation, your image, everything you've protected for years. Doesn't matter. None of it matters if I lose you. Nancy felt tears streaming down her face and didn't bother to wipe them away. You're really serious about this. I've never been more serious about anything. She walked to the window and looked out at the city, at Seoul stretching out in every direction. Somewhere down there, reporters were already writing stories about what Tae-rin had just said. His family was probably losing their minds. His business associates were definitely questioning his stability. And he had done it anyway. For her, I need to tell you something, Nancy said quietly, and I need you to really hear it. I'm listening. She turned to face him. Even if you do everything right from this moment forward, even if you become the perfect husband, there's still a chance I leave. Because sometimes the damage is too deep. Sometimes people grow apart, and love isn't enough to bring them back together. Tae-rin felt fear grip his heart, but he nodded. I know. I need you to be okay with that possibility. I need you to try, because you want to be better, not just because you want to keep me. I want both. But if you can only have one. He thought about it, really thought. Then I want to be better, because you deserve a better husband, whether that husband is me or someone else. Nancy felt something inside her shift. That was the right answer. The only answer that mattered. Tell me about London, she said. What did you find out? His face lit up with cautious hope. There's a neighborhood called Notting Hill. Lots of international families. Good food. Close to your office. I found 3 apartments in our price range. Our price range? If I come with you, I won't have access to most of my accounts here. My family will freeze me out. So we'll be living on your salary, and whatever I can make doing something normal. Nancy sat down, processing that. You've really thought this through. I stayed up all night thinking it through. Nancy, I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I've wasted the chances you already gave me. But if you're willing to try one more time, I promise you it will be different. Not perfect. I'll mess up because I'm human. But different. Better. Real. What about your business, your responsibilities here? I'm passing control to Park. He's been running half of it anyway. And honestly, maybe it's time I stepped away. I got into this life young, and I never questioned if it was what I actually wanted. Maybe I need to figure out who I am, without the power and the reputation. Nancy studied his face, looking for cracks in the sincerity, for signs. This was manipulation. But all she saw was a man who looked terrified and hopeful in equal measure. Guys, I have to be honest with you. I didn't think this story was going to hit me this hard. But here we are. If you're feeling the emotions like I am, and you want to see how this ends, stay with me. We're almost at the finish line, and I promise you it's worth it. I want conditions, Nancy said finally. Tae-rin straightened. Anything. Couples therapy. Real therapy, with someone who specializes in cross-cultural marriages. Done. I take the job in London, and you don't get to make decisions about my career. Ever. Agreed. If we have children someday, they learn about both cultures equally. No prioritizing Korean over Nigerian. Absolutely. And if at any point I feel like we're slipping back into old patterns, I get to say so, and you have to listen. Really listen. Not just wait for me to stop talking. I promise. Nancy took a deep breath. And we don't do this in London. Tae-rin's face fell. What? If we're going to start over, we start completely over. Not London, not Seoul. Somewhere neither of us has ties. Somewhere we can build something new together. Where? I don't know yet. Maybe we figure it out together. Maybe that's the first real decision we make as actual partners. A smile broke across Tae-rin's face. The first genuine smile she'd seen in months. You're saying yes? You're saying we try? I'm saying we try. One real try. But Tae-rin, if you break my heart again, there won't be a third chance. I can't survive that. You won't have to. I swear to you, Nancy. I will spend every day proving I deserve this chance. She nodded slowly. Then I'm canceling my flight. He moved toward her but stopped, uncertain if he was allowed to touch her yet. Nancy closed the distance and hugged him, and Tae-rin wrapped his arms around her like she was the only thing keeping him standing. Which maybe she was. I love you, he whispered into her hair. I know I haven't shown it, but I do. I love you so much. I love you too. That was never the problem. The problem was everything else. Then we fix everything else. They stood there, holding each other while outside. The reporters continued to buzz, and Tae-rin's phone exploded, with ignored calls from his family and business associates. For the first time in 3 years, none of that mattered more than the woman in his arms. Later that afternoon, Nancy sent Chioma a message. I'm staying. The response came immediately. Are you sure? No. But I'm hopeful, and that's enough for now. What changed? Nancy looked across the room at Tae-rin, who was on the phone with a real estate agent asking about properties in Barcelona and Accra and Vancouver, taking notes about each one, like this was the most important research he'd ever done. He did, Nancy typed back. Finally. 2 weeks later, Nancy and Tae-rin sat in a marriage counselor's office in Seoul, having their first real conversation about everything that had gone wrong. It was painful. There were tears and raised voices and moments where Nancy almost walked out. But Tae-rin stayed present. He listened. He admitted fault. He didn't get defensive or dismissive. And slowly, carefully, they started building something new on top of the broken pieces of what they'd had. 1 month after that night with the packed suitcases, they flew to Cape Town, South Africa. Nancy had never been, but had always wanted to visit. Tae-rin had never been, and knew nothing about it. They were equally out of place, equally starting fresh. They found a small apartment near the ocean, and Tae-rin enrolled in business classes at the university, learning to build something legitimate instead of powerful. Nancy took a remote consulting position that let her work from anywhere. They learned to cook together, to navigate a new city together, to be partners instead of a boss and a decoration. It wasn't perfect. There were fights. There were days Nancy wondered if she'd made a mistake. There were moments. Tae-rin missed the rush of power and control. But there were also mornings where he made her tea without being asked, evenings where they walked on the beach and talked for hours, nights where he held her and knew every reason why she was crying instead of having to guess. 3 months into their new life, they were grocery shopping when Tae-rin picked up a book from the store's small book section. Is this the kind of history you like? He asked, showing her a book about African kingdoms. Nancy looked at the cover and smiled. Actually, yes. How did you know? I've been paying attention to what you read, and I started reading them too. I finished the Yoruba history book you had. It was fascinating. Nancy felt her heart swell. Such a small thing. Such an enormous thing. You read my book? I wanted to understand what you find interesting. Plus, if we ever go to Lagos to meet your family, I should probably know something about the culture beyond what I can learn from a guidebook. You want to meet my family? Of course I do. They're important to you, which makes them important to me. Nancy set down the groceries she was holding and kissed him right there in the middle of the store, not caring who saw. What was that for? Tae-rin asked, surprised but pleased. For seeing me, finally really seeing me. He smiled and pulled her close. I'll never stop looking again, I promise. 6 months after leaving Seoul, Nancy's phone rang with a video call from Tae-rin's mother. She almost didn't answer, but Tae-rin encouraged her. You don't have to, but she's been trying to reach out for weeks. Maybe hear what she has to say? Nancy answered. Tae-rin's mother appeared on screen, looking older and smaller than Nancy remembered. Nancy, she said stiffly, thank you for answering. Of course. A long pause, then, I owe you an apology. Many apologies. I treated you terribly, and I convinced myself it was acceptable, because you were different from what I expected for my son. I was wrong. Nancy felt shock ripple through her. I appreciate you saying that. Tae-rin tells me you're in Cape Town. That you're both happy. We are. Good, that's good. Another pause. He's different now. Even over the phone I can hear it. He's softer, more present. You've been good for him. We've been good for each other. Tae-rin's mother nodded slowly. When you're ready, I would like to visit. To apologize properly in person. And to get to know you. The real you, if you'll allow it. Nancy looked at Tae-seun, who gave her an encouraging nod, but left the decision entirely to her. I'd like that, Nancy said. Not yet, but someday. We're still healing. I understand. Take all the time you need. After the call ended, Tae-rin pulled Nancy into his arms. I'm proud of you. For what? For being gracious even when you didn't have to be. For being open to forgiveness, even though she doesn't deserve it yet. Everyone deserves a chance to change. You taught me that. He kissed her forehead. We taught each other. 1 year after the night Nancy packed her suitcases, they renewed their vows on a beach in Cape Town. It was small, just them and a few friends they'd made in their new city. Chioma flew in from Lagos. Even Park came from Seoul, telling Tae-rin the business was doing fine without him, which somehow felt like the best news possible. Nancy wore a simple white dress and flowers in her hair. Tae-rin wore linen pants and a shirt with no tie, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. When it was time for vows, Nancy spoke first. A year ago, I was ready to walk away from us. I had given up, but you showed me that people can change when they finally understand what they're about to lose. You learned to see me, to value me, to fight for us, instead of just expecting us to work. You're not perfect and we still have hard days, but you're present now. You're really here, and that's all I ever wanted. Tae-rin's turn. I almost lost you because I was comfortable. I thought your love was guaranteed, that I could coast on the commitment you made 3 years ago without earning it every day. I was wrong, and I'm grateful you were strong enough to demand better. You taught me that love is a choice we make every single day, not a promise we make once and forget about. I choose you today, and I'll choose you tomorrow, and every day after that. Thank you for giving me another chance to get it right. They exchanged new rings, simple bands they'd picked out together. When they kissed, the small group cheered, and the ocean provided the soundtrack. That night, sitting on their apartment balcony watching the sunset, Nancy leaned her head on Tae-rin's shoulder. Do you miss it? She asked. Seoul, the business, all of it? He thought about it honestly. Sometimes, but not enough to go back. I like this version of us better. Me too. Any regrets about staying? Nancy considered the question. A year ago, she would have said yes. 6 months ago, maybe. But now? No regrets. Just gratitude that we found our way back to each other. Tae-rin squeezed her hand. What do you think about Barcelona next? For a visit or to live? Either, both, whatever you want. Nancy smiled. Let's visit first. I like it here. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned orange and pink and purple. Two people who had almost lost each other, but had somehow found their way to something better. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth it. Not guaranteed, but chosen. Every single day. So there you have it. Nancy almost got on that plane, and honestly, I wouldn't have blamed her if she did. But sometimes people really do change when they realize what they're about to lose. If this story moved you, if you felt every moment of Nancy's pain and Tae-rin's panic, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. I've got more stories like this coming. Stories about real love and second chances and people learning to do better. And drop a comment telling me what you thought. Did Nancy make the right choice? Would you have stayed or left? I want to hear from you. Until next time, remember that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. And sometimes, that makes all the difference.